So, ladies and gentlemen, today I will be ranking every single country that has played at Euro 2024. Normally when we do videos like this, we're on the Tier Maker website, but this time I'm just going to be ranking each one individually, one by one, bottom to top. I've done this for the World Cup back in the day, and you guys really seem to enjoy that video. Now, fair warning, I will be basing this list a lot off of stats. Win, draws, and losses are definitely high priority in this scenario. But also when the records are close, I will be judging each side based off of expectation. So please don't be too upset with my list and just let me know politely your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button. Let's try to hit 3,500 likes on this video. Subscribe if you're new. It is the end of Euro 2024, but still a lot more content to come with international football. Despite my own personal losses, what a tournament this has been though. Let's get into the list, starting off with last place. I have Scotland at 24th. Now, although they had some of the best fans in Germany, this is statistically the worst team at Euro 2024. Them, along with Czech Republic, Poland, and Albania, all had 1 draw and 2 losses. All of them finishing with just 1 point, and makes it the worst tally in this year's tournament. But amongst the aforementioned, Scotland does have the worst goal difference. Getting hammered in the opening match against Germany 5-1 really ruined everything, with one of the most lifeless performances from them. They picked themselves back up against Switzerland, finishing in a draw, where Scott McTominay scored, but it probably should have counted as an own goal. And then in the final match, their last hope to qualify for the knockouts, they lost to Hungary after conceding the latest goal scored in group stage history, with 10 minutes of stoppage time. Unfortunately, Scotland literally have the worst track record when it comes to qualifying for the knockouts in major international tournaments. This is now their 12th time failing to make it out of the group stage, and they still have yet to play in a knockout round. It's a shame because they're such an exciting team and really impressed me in the Euro qualifier campaign. Truly, best of luck to Scotland in the future, but yeah, there's just no denying that statistically, they were the worst team at Euro 2024.
Mighty Scotland.
Now for the next team we're going to be talking about, I am somewhat bending the rules. I know I said I went primarily for stats. There's actually another side with a heavier goal difference than the side I'm going to be talking about, but still, my second worst team I am placing is Czech Republic. Yes, statistically, they were not as bad as Poland, who obviously I have not mentioned yet. Their goal difference was -2, Poland's was -3. However, the quality on paper in the groups was a massive difference for the two countries. And apart from a few Poland supporters, most people did not think this side would qualify for the knockouts. There was a lot more expectation for the Czech Republic. They failed to beat the debutants of the tournament, Georgia, who are the worst ranked team in FIFA in this tournament. They held on for a bit against Portugal and scored a nice goal, but still at the end fell short, and then lost to Turkey on a stoppage time goal. Sure, their losses were narrow, and again, the goal difference was not as high as Poland's. It was only a 1 difference, but a side that made it all the way to the quarterfinals in the last tournament, I'm sure expected a lot better from their nation. Prior to the tournament, they had many convincing scorelines going their way under their new manager, Ivan Hasek, so I'm sure the fall caught some fans off guard. It's unfortunate that their best striker, Petr Schick, got injured against Georgia. He was obviously a massive difference maker in the last Euro tournament. But in that match against Georgia, Czech Republic dominated in the stats, but they had a nightmare to deal with in between the sticks. So for me personally, they were the second worst team at Euro 2024. One above them now, I will put Poland, the third out of the 4 teams to get 1 draw and 2 losses, with the worst goal difference in Czech Republic, but like I already mentioned, they were in a much tougher group. In fact, this was considered the group of death, the best group on paper according to the FIFA rankings. And Poland fell short to put off 2 interesting fights against the favorites of the group, France and Netherlands. Against Netherlands, they conceded a late Weghorst goal, but had a 1-0 lead for a bit. And against France, they drew 1-1 to assist Austria in that first place finish. Against Austria, they did underperform, but still with low expectations already, I have to put Poland a bit higher as they put off decent fights in the group stage, much better than I expected them to, as their Euro qualifier campaign was disastrous, and like Czech Republic, they also hired a new manager before the tournament began. Croatia was undefeated before this tournament, so we'll see if Poland can bounce back in the future. Best of luck to them. Now, in my opinion, the best out of the countries that finished with 1 draw and 2 losses is Albania. I'm putting them at 21st place as they were in a deadly group. All of those countries ranked top 10 by FIFA during the tournament. I don't know what will happen to Croatia now, but they drew to Croatia and only lost by 1 goal against Italy and Spain. And they had too many memorable moments. Unfortunately, they could not do the job against Spain at the end, but they did break some records in this tournament. The most notable being the fastest ever goal in the competition's history at 23 seconds, scored by Bayrami, along with Gasula being the only ever substitute to score an own goal and a goal. That was never even achieved at a World Cup. Albania played with so much passion, heart, and courage. I still think that if they were in a different group, they probably would have made it to the knockouts. It really was an unfortunate draw for them, so again, out of all those sides that finished with 1 draw and 2 losses, for me, they were the best. Now, conveniently, just above them, I'm putting Serbia at 20th. Serbia, once again, once they enter a major international tournament, they underperform. While some were at least optimistic for them to finish in 3rd, they couldn't even do that. Last place with 2 draws and 1 loss. The main reason why I am putting them over Albania is because they did get 2 points instead of 1. Serbia, the only thing I was impressed by and caught off guard for was their defense. I had a feeling that they would crash in this group to 4th, but in different fashion. I thought they would be scoring the goals, but leaking them as well. Instead, it was the complete opposite, only conceding 2 total, but also only scoring 1. A stoppage time equalizer against Slovenia. It was truly a forgetful campaign for Serbia, and I am sad about it. And I am unsure about their future, as the latest news is that they are sticking with Pixie. Hopefully, Serbia make it to the knockouts at some point, because as an independent nation, they have still yet to do so. And this is also their debut of the Euros as an independent nation, so with all that being considered, it was a disappointing display. With the likes of Dusan Vlahovic, Mitrovic, Milinkovic Savic, Dusan Tadic, we should have been seeing more goals roll through. Instead, it was just Luka Jovic. Now again, conveniently just above Serbia, I am putting Croatia. These are the only 2 countries to finish with just 2 points in the Euro tournament. Unlike Serbia, Croatia finished at 3rd though, only above Albania. Croatia though obviously being one of the biggest disappointments as they have such a rich recent history in World Cups. Even in the Euros, obviously not as deep of runs as the World Cup, but they usually still can perform in the group stage. This time it was a disaster, not being able to get past the group stage and also not playing great football either. Getting demolished by Spain 3-0 in the beginning, could not defeat Albania and were trailing to them at the beginning because nobody was playing well the first half. Modric could not even complete some simple passes. And then finally against Italy, hope looked to be restored. Everyone was playing better than the other 2 matches. With a 1-0 lead thanks to Modric and the defenders finally waking up, Croatia just took their eyes off the match for 1 second, and it happened to be the final second of the match, as Italy scored that beautiful goal to secure a 1-1 draw, allowing them to advance to the knockouts over Croatia. They are the worst out of all the 3rd place teams in the tournament statistically, and although it was a difficult group, we without a doubt have been seeing Croatia play better football than this. They are 19th on the list for me. Maybe some people will put them even lower, but for now I'm heavily considering that win, draw, and loss record. Questionable times ahead, but hopefully the players pick their heads back up. Moving on to 18th place, we have Hungary. Yes, the first country in this video to register a win. They lost their first 2 matches with unconvincing displays, and then in the dying seconds against Scotland, they scored the game winner. It was the latest ever Euro goal scored in the group stages. This side by many, including me, were deemed to have a potential dark horse run in this tournament. However, they really failed to make a mark and had to rely on other teams to do worse than them in that 3rd place ranking. That obviously did not work in their favor and had to be sent home early thanks to Georgia. Before the friendlies occurred right before the tournament, Hungary were undefeated since 2022. So it was quite a shock that they couldn't put off better fights despite a challenging group still. I did expect more from this Hungarian side. Moving on to 17th place, I've gone for Ukraine. It seemed like I was done talking about the 4th place teams, but we have 1 more to go. They without a doubt had the best record out of any of the 4th place teams, as they were the first country in Euro history to finish 4th with 4 points, sharing points with group leaders Romania. Yes, they finished 4th at the end and did suffer one really heavy defeat, but surely we should be more generous to a side that finished with the same amount of points in the group stage as the likes of Italy, Belgium, even semi-finalist Netherlands. Well, at the end of the day, they did suffer one of the heaviest defeats at the start of the tournament, losing to Romania 3-0, which obviously put them in this awful position to be judged on goal difference since all the sides finished with the same amount of points, and Ukraine's was obviously the worst. Their other 2 matches were a 2-1 victory over Slovakia and a 0-0 draw to a Belgian side that looked to play for a draw. So shout out to Ukraine for coming back at the end with form, but at the end it wasn't enough, as that initial result against Romania really stung the rest of the journey. Definitely a surprise that this side went home so early with the incredible talent they have in many positions. Now here's where it gets even more debatable as we move on to the sides that qualified for the knockout stages. And there's so many reasons why you can argue why one should be higher than the other, but for me, the most underwhelming one has to be Belgium. Sharing points with Ukraine, who we just talked about, I honestly think they should only be 1 rank higher. They lost at the beginning to Slovakia, then scored their only 2 goals the entire tournament against Romania, followed with a 0-0 draw to Ukraine where they just could have played better. Sure, their round of 16 opponent was going to be difficult, France. And they did only concede 1 goal there. However, I just do think their group stage display was fraudulent. In a group they were expected by nearly everyone to top, they fell short to 2nd and shared points with everyone else. It really broke down to that final match day. They very much could have been 4th instead. Sure, they got unlucky at times with VAR not going their way. But this side, despite the decline of the golden generation, were still expected to do a lot as a lot of other young ballers were on the rise. I know they finished second at the end, but again, they shared points with all the other teams in their group. For me, they just should be one of the worst sides that did advance to the knockouts based on expectation and performances. But, of course, let me know what you think. Now, this is all debatable, of course, because next up I have Italy, who were also underwhelming. No, I am not putting them low because they broke my heart. I genuinely was just disappointed that they took a round of 16 spot from Croatia, only to get outclassed by Switzerland immediately. They lost 2-0. Prior to that, unlike Croatia, Italy were able to beat Albania. But it really was a narrow match where they still lacked dominance and even conceded the earliest goal in Euro history. They then got outplayed by Spain. 1-0 does not suggest the performance. And their draw against Croatia, they did not play so brilliantly that match. I'm not saying Croatia played a whole lot better though, but for sure, they showed their flaws, where they had to rely on that last-minute brilliance to send them to the knockouts. No, but for real, you should expect better from the defending champions. Sure, it was a new generation with a lot of missing players from their 2021 victory, but of course their expectations are always high for a national team with some incredible legacy. The best thing to come out of the campaign, I guess, was Calafiori, who caught eyes for many, for those who were not already paying attention to Bologna's season. His presence was noted so highly that of course Italy collapsed in the match he was banned from playing. 14th goes to the debutants of the tournament, Georgia. I'm putting them above Italy because their expectations for the tournament were a lot lower than the defending champions. They finished with the same record in the group stage as them and Ukraine and Belgium with 4 points, but had such an admirable road. Losing at the beginning 3-1 to Turkey, but they kept their head high as they still had some brilliant moments throughout the match. They kept the courage. Drawing with Czech Republic next 1-1 with the Mamardashvili masterclass, he made a ridiculous amount of saves in this match in particular, helping him earn a spot of the goalkeeper with the most saves in Euro 2024. With only having to play Portugal next, they looked to be finished. But they defeated them. Yeah, Portugal did not play their strongest lineup, but a 2-0 victory for the debutants against favorites for many in the competition deserves a lot of praise. It granted them a knockout spot where unfortunately they had to play a very informed Spain, who already had experience against them in the qualifier campaign. They lost 4-1, so yes, they did concede quite a lot of goals in this tournament, a total of 9. However, they played one of the most informed teams, conceding nearly half of them there, and I'm bumping them up a bit due to expectations. Too many people thought this side would be down and out due to their lack of experience in the competition, but they showed a lot of heart and fight while they were still standing in Germany. For me, 14th place. I know it's going to be controversial to put them above Belgium and Italy, but truly, what an interesting performance Georgia had this tournament. At 13th, it's Denmark. They got knocked out of the round of 16, finishing the tournament with 3 draws and 1 loss. No wins at all. They finished the group stage undefeated, obviously, but were underwhelming attacking-wise, only being able to score 2 goals. They put off a strong fight against Germany in the round of 16, actually, where there were some controversial calls not going their way. Anderson scoring that offside goal and shortly after gave away a penalty. Still, at the end, they got outplayed by the hosts. It definitely was not the most memorable Euro campaign compared to their last tournament in 2021, where they had a terrific dark horse run. Now at 12th, it goes to Slovakia. Upsetting Belgium at the beginning, like I already talked about, boosts this side up a lot, after many, including me, not even believing in this side at the beginning. Like I mentioned a bunch already in their group, they shared points with the others, getting 3rd. After losing to Ukraine and drawing with Romania. Then in the round of 16, they had to face England, where we nearly saw a massive upset. 1-0 for most of the match. Unfortunately, it all came tumbling down after Jude Bellingham's incredible bicycle kick in the last seconds, ending the hopes and dreams for Slovakia. But the fact that most of the world was anticipating this scoreline to stay, and the fact that we nearly saw a repeat of 2016 for what Iceland did to England, Slovakia for me have to get some praise. Upsetting Belgium and then nearly doing so against England in the knockouts, that's quite surreal and something I'm sure most people were not expecting. Also, Schran scored 3 goals from open play, all of them being in the first half in 3 of their 4 matches. Just above them at 11th, I will put another Group E member, Romania. They topped that joint 4 standing, many thanks to their opening match, which was a 3-0 annihilation against Ukraine. Despite that, they lost sight against the group favorites Belgium, conceding 2, and then drew with Slovakia. Maybe the sides did it on purpose to knock out Ukraine. The Romanian national team gave a lot of joy to their country for topping their group, even if it went down to the wire, all of them sharing points. However, in the round of 16, it came crumbling fast after the Netherlands defeated them 3-0, hanging on for dear life defensively and actually pulling it off many times. But eventually, they ran out of gas at the end of the match. Sure, it's a heavy defeat 3-0, but they also had that same exact scoreline go their way in a match many did not expect them to even win. I think it's debatable whether you want to put Slovakia or Romania higher, but without a doubt, both have shocked the football world one way or another. Memorable moments like Stanchu's strike and showing dominance against Ukraine has me putting this side just a bit higher than them. At 10th, I'm going for Slovenia. This side are not the only ones to do so, but they are one of the few to finish their Euro campaign getting knocked out, still being undefeated. What's unique and interesting about Slovenia's case though is that they did not get a single win or loss the entire tournament. 3 draws in the group stage, followed with facing Portugal in the round of 16. There they took the match to penalties where Diogo Costa had a masterclass, but prior to that, Jan Oblak saved a Ronaldo penalty, keeping them in the game. This means they finished their Euro campaign being able to get a clean sheet against England and Portugal. Despite the exit, this was the first time the country qualified for the knockouts in the Euros. Šeško did not step up much like I expected him to, did not get on the score sheet at all actually, where he could have against Portugal thanks to Pepe. This regardless was still a fascinating run. Despite them only being able to score 2 goals the entire tournament, I'm still giving them 10th place. But out of all the countries to get knocked out of the round of 16, for me, Austria was the best one. I'm putting them at 9th as nobody was expecting them to top their group with France, Netherlands, and Poland. Yet they did, losing to France at the beginning, only conceding an own goal, but then defeated Poland and the Netherlands. Austria were on such a notable rise in the qualifiers, I am not surprised that they did this well, but I am surprised that they still topped the group. Ralf Rangnick revolutionized this side and they impressed the world. Many expected them to continue to have a deep run against Turkey, but they did not in the round of 16. It was a thrilling match, but regardless, they were caught off guard at the beginning to Demiral. They played strong in the second half, but it was not enough, and ended up cutting their Euro dreams short after many thought that they could have a deep dark horse run. 3 goals against the Netherlands and Poland though each is very impressive. Despite failing to keep a single clean sheet, their tournament was memorable for many. Austria definitely have to keep their heads high as this was still a great tournament. Now moving on to the quarterfinal teams, it's a tough choice, but I am going to start with Turkey being the 8th place side. Now I love the story this country told in the Euros. They also debatably played the most entertaining football in the tournament. Ferdi at fullback was so clutch, Arda Güler many magical moments. The pace and energy this side gave every match was top notch. Their only heavy loss was 3-0 to Portugal in the group stage, but their manager Montella put up one of the most questionable lineups. It got exposed during that own goal. But a 3-1 victory against Georgia with Arda Güler breaking the record of the youngest debutant to score, followed with a 2-1 dramatic victory against Czech Republic to secure 2nd place. And then in the round of 16, yes, they defeated Austria when many ruled them out. Their center back Demiral with 2 goals. Unfortunately, he got banned against the Netherlands due to his celebrations, but Turkey still put off a good fight in that match. 1-0 up, but the Netherlands came back in the second half. Regardless, Turkey need to be proud for making it so far, especially after many people doubted them for their poor Euro 2020 performance. They fulfilled a dark horse title, and like I said, were one of the most entertaining teams in Euro 2024. Up next at 7th is Portugal. How crazy is it that the only side they lost to on paper in this tournament was Georgia, the debutants? Won their other 2 group stage games, drew with Slovenia, and then drew with France in the quarterfinals. Obviously, it counts as a draw on paper if your side loses on penalties. After beating Slovenia on penalties, they couldn't do it once more as Joao Felix missed his. Ronaldo definitely did not have his best tournament, failing to score a single goal even when his country earned a penalty against Slovenia. Sometimes the attack looked lost and not as threatening compared to that Euro qualifier campaign they had. They barely pushed through against the Czech Republic, obviously destroyed Turkey, but then scored no goals against Georgia, Slovenia, and France. I expected a lot more goals from the Portuguese, so this was slightly underwhelming. But regardless, the team still as a whole had some exciting moments. I think 7th is fair as they still topped their group at the end and held France off for a draw. Great side, don't get me wrong, but I was expecting to put them higher in this ranking. Next up, Switzerland, I would argue should be above them at 6th place. Another country to get knocked out of the competition without registering a single loss. 1 win and 2 draws in the group stage, the 2 draws being against Scotland and Germany, outclassing Italy in the round of 16, which to me was their best performance, and then they fell short to England in the quarterfinals on penalties. Some people ruled out this side after their questionable Euro qualifier campaign, falling short to Romania in the standings, but they pushed through to make a deep run, back-to-back quarterfinals, defeating the previous champions as well. I think the Swiss side deserve a lot of praise. Many even thought they could do it against England to reach their first ever semi-final, but it was not meant to be. Some things have just never changed with this national team though. Throughout recent history, we have always seen them make it to the knockouts, and we always see a Shaqiri banger. But one of the most crucial players on this side has to be Xhaka. He was phenomenal in that match against Italy with an incredible passing accuracy. Now moving on to our last quarterfinal team, Germany. For me, the best of those, they get 5th. It seems a bit unfair. These guys were playing exceptional football until they had to come up against the champion Spain. They performed better than France, Netherlands, and England in the group stage, but crumbled earlier than expected. At the end of the day, they failed to reach the semi-finals on their own home ground. Some moments were unlucky for sure against Spain. They play with so much heart and fight. We saw youngsters like Wirtz and Musiala perform wonderfully. Toni Kroos retiring on a positive note, I'd say. He showed his part one last time with the national team. They even had the most one-sided scoreline at the tournament in the opening match against Scotland. It's a shame they had to face Spain so soon, because truly this could have been the final match if both sides were on different sides of the bracket. So obviously you can argue that they should be higher on this list because they were one of the most impressive sides at this tournament. It's definitely a step up and a revival of how they performed in the last 2 World Cups. But still, I'm going to keep it systematic as to how far each team progressed in the tournament. Still, without a doubt, out of the quarterfinal exit teams, Germany are the best. And now they once again have every reason to be hopeful for the future. Now on to the semi-final exit teams. Let's start with Netherlands, who I'm putting at 4th place. The Netherlands had somewhat of an unexpected start when they finished 3rd in their group with 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss, after they lost to Austria 3-2 on that final match day. They drew with France though and defeated Poland, truly showing that they are prone to leaking goals but still played some fantastic attacking football. Their knockout road started with Romania, where they came back in massive fashion, defeating them 3-0, and then in the quarters they were 1-0 down to Turkey but played an incredible second half. Against England, it was not meant to be. An early Xavi Simons strike was not enough, as England scored twice to send them home. It's a side with incredible talent in every position, and I still believe that Koeman did not get the best out of this side. With some of the best defenders in Europe on paper, they still leaked 8 goals throughout the tournament. Regardless, attacking-wise, they were impressive. Cody Gakpo, what a tournament he's had after many questioned his form recently. If they get proper management in the future, I do believe this side have the quality to make more progress in future tournaments. They were a very exciting team to watch and brought many memorable moments, but it was not the best tactical display. In the World Cup, I was more convinced in this side, even though they got knocked out earlier. At 3rd place, I'm putting France. This is a side that were heavily criticized throughout the tournament, as they failed to score a single goal from open play until their semi-final match against Spain, which they still lost. They heavily contrast the Netherlands though, as attacking-wise, they were poor, but defensively, they were solid. They achieved 4 clean sheets and conceded 3 goals. 1 penalty from Poland and Spain's 2 goals in the semis. Saliba, Kante, players like this were world class. But Mbappe did not look so fired up until that match against Spain, where he finally took off the mask, and Griezmann was shocking. Deschamps being criticized by many as well for his poor attacking display. Although they did not play the most attractive, entertaining football, they still made it this far in the tournament to the semi-finals. They got the job done until this guy opened his mouth and got bullied by a 16-year-old. This side I thought would win Euro 2024 at the beginning, but once I saw how wasteful they were attacking-wise, I definitely started to question that. Regardless, I still think they handled the composure fairly well, as yes, they made it to the semi-finals. Moving on to the runners-up of the tournament, England. Also, many people heavily criticized this side throughout the entire tournament for a dull group stage display and scraping through many results, relying on Bellingham's bicycle kick in the last second against Slovakia, to Pickford being a hero against Switzerland on penalties, to Ollie Watkins scoring right before the 90-minute mark against the Netherlands. But at the end of it all, they are a finalist side, and the only side they lost to in the entire tournament was Spain in the final. Something you have to appreciate about this team is that although they looked dull at the beginning of the tournament, they only seemed to improve momentum as the tournament went on. Yes, even though they lost to Spain, they put off a terrific fight and got close to making history. Cole Palmer's strike was definitely something else, but unfortunately history is repeating itself for this nation. They still have yet to win a single Euro trophy. I definitely do not think Southgate is the right man for the job. With the talent England possess, they should have carried through more convincing scorelines throughout the competition. Credit to him though, making it to 2 Euro finals back-to-back, but I think it's time to move on. The talent he had to his disposal ended up just saving his legacy for the tournament. Being a moments type of team ended up giving them a very deep run. Regardless, full credit to England for continuing to prove many people wrong after their disappointing group stage run. They still should be proud to be a finalist side. And finally, the champions of the tournament, Spain, without a doubt the best performing country at Euro 2024. It honestly would have been awkward if England did end up winning the tournament for this video in particular, because, let's be honest, Spain were, by far, throughout the tournament, the best side in the competition. Since the group stage finished, people realized this side were one of the heavy favorites of the tournament, outplaying many countries to also having a difficult road to the final, having to face Croatia and Italy in the group stage to Germany and France in the knockouts. So many exceptional performances as well. Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal are deadly, and the future of this national team is going to be scary with them having so many years ahead. Yamal rightfully winning Young Player of the tournament and Rodri winning the Best Player. Fabian Ruiz was also phenomenal. Dani almost stepped up massively in the final 3 matches when it mattered most. The subs came in clutch many moments too, but I do believe Spain are the only country to get 7 for 7 wins in Euro history, meaning they never relied on penalties or fell short in the group stage. Truly a masterpiece of a tournament from this nation, and they're going into the 2026 World Cup now with high hopes. Well, there you have it, guys. That is my complete ranking for all of the Euro 2024 countries. As you saw, I heavily base it on their record primarily, and then judge some of their performances off of expectations when it was down to the wire. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for the support throughout the Euro tournament, along with the Euro qualifiers as well. Lots of more content to come for the future, so make sure you subscribe to the channel to not miss anything, and I will see you all very, very soon. Take care. La cu noci.